Welcome to the Pastor G show. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Lindani Gumede, also known as Pastor G. For two reasons: because I love pasta, and the second reason is because I am an associate pastor in one of the churches here in Cape Town. I'm excited to be sharing some knowledge with you today. I did a study on the custom of iLobola, and I'd love to share what I have learned. But I also need to say, disclaimer, that as much as I'm a scholar, as much as I love learning, I am not a professor in this field. And so there are things that I might maybe get wrong, but I'm on a journey of also learning as well. So I studied clinical pastoral care, and it basically just affords me the ability to do clinical counseling and marriage and family therapy, which I thoroughly love. I really love the relational side of counseling, whether it is premarital counseling or marital counseling or family therapy. That is something that I really enjoy doing. I found the need to actually study on this subject of iLobola. I am Zulu speaking, and so my Zuluness wants to come out. I found the need to study on this topic of iLobola primarily because myself, I didn't understand it. When I wanted to get married, and when I wanted to get married, I had to pay iLobola. And I did not understand this concept, iLobola. I was like, why do I have to pay iLobola? And this was 10 years ago, and it got me on a journey of wanting to know this custom of iLobola even more. So this is a 10-year journey of just learning and getting to understand this custom of iLobola. I also studied it because there has been a lot of pain and destructiveness that have happened because of the custom of iLobola. And if it is misunderstood and misused, it can cause a lot of pain. So I'll touch on the potential dangers of the custom of iLobola. So in this video, what I really want to share is, number one, the history of this custom of iLobola. Then I want to look at what is the purpose of iLobola, and I want to look at some of the scholars and what are their views on this custom of iLobola. Then I'm going to look at the potential dangers. And lastly, I want to look at a biblical Jewish culture that is similar to the custom of iLobola. So the history of iLobola is as follows. iLobola has been an African tradition that has been practiced for the past 2,000 years. For the past 2,000 years, this practice or this custom of iLobola has been practiced right here in Africa. It is estimated that it actually started in the year 300 BC. The year 300 BC. It is practiced in several countries in Africa. These countries include Lesotho, DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Swaziland, and also South Africa. Within the South African context, there are four major ethnic groups amongst the Black population. These four ethnic groups are the Nguni tribe, the Venda tribe, the Basotho tribe, the Shangaan or Tsonga tribe. All of these tribes practice the custom of iLobola uniquely and differently. They all practice it. They practice this custom uniquely and differently. But for the purpose of my study, I zoomed in and focused on the Nguni tribe, specifically on AmaZulu, the Zulu tribe. And so for the Zulu tribe, the main purpose of iLobola is as follows. But before I go to the main purpose, I need to say that the process, for those who do not know, is initiated by the groom's family, and it cannot be done telephonically. You can't be like, hey, call the father of the bride, let's negotiate telephonically. It can't happen that way. Within the South African context, lobola is a legally binding marital contract because a customary marriage has been negotiated, has been entered into, and has been celebrated. So it is something that is, once the negotiations have started, and once abakongi or the uncles have sat, agreed, and even signed, then it is a legally binding marriage. So what is the purpose of iLobola? I'm going to look at it, as I said, from the Zulu context. According to AmaZulu, it is ukwakha ubuhlobo, which means to build relationship, to build genuine friendship amongst the two families. According to Dr. Gugu Mkhize, who is a lecturer at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, I'm not sure if she still is, but when I was doing my studies, she was a lecturer at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. She says that the main purpose of iLobola is to foster genuine relationship between the family of the groom and the family of the bride. Excuse me, I just choked on saliva. All right. It is to foster genuine relationship between the family of the groom and the family of the bride. So when it comes to the romantic relationship, really and truly the aim of iLobola is to build a healthy relationship for the couple, and also a healthy family relationship between the family of the bride and also the family of the groom. Why is cattle used? This is so important to really understand a history of iLobola and why cattle is used, because then it will really show you the heart of iLobola. Why is cattle used? The reason why cattle was used is because back before before Europeans moved into South Africa, before there was a move from moving from the villages to the cities, before our grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers were, migrated into the cities to work in the mines, in the villages, in the houses of the Zulu tribes, the center of the house was isibaya, a kraal. So there were houses, and within the middle of these houses, because each family had like a house or houses, and within the center of these houses was isibaya, a kraal, and this is where the cattle lived, and the spiritual heartbeat of the family was found in isibaya. In fact, life revolved around isibaya. And so when the bridegroom found a bride to marry, he would go to the family kraal, the family isibaya, take some of the cattle and go to the bride's family and offer this cattle as a symbol of saying that I'm giving you the spiritual heart of the family. And in exchange, I would love for you to get married to me and help me to build this family, to expand my family. And so that was the reason why cattle was used. But when Europeans came, especially a very important gentleman by the name of Theophilus Shepstone, he's important because of this topic. He is the one who monetized it, and he is the one who changed how much cattle was supposed to be given to the family of the bride. I will share a little bit on that later. So, what are the different perspectives of iLobola from different researchers? I try to have various different scholars, various different views. So there is uMazibuko, who defines iLobola as bride practice that is paid to the family of the bride from the family of the bridegroom, which results in the legitimization of the relationship between the couple. According to Pusal and Ludwig, they say, or they define iLobola as a marriage payment from the groom's family to the family of the bride, done either with cattle or with cash. Glenn Parker best defines iLobola as a traditional practice that was specifically invented for the purpose of bringing families together, for the purpose of fostering mutual trust and understanding. According to Dr. Mkhize, she says that the family of the groom offers a token of appreciation towards the family of the bride to show their value and appreciation for the family offering their daughter to marry their son. This token of appreciation is not limited to monetary gifts, but can be anything of great value from the groom's family, such as a garden tool or a treasured spear. So it was not limited to cattle, but it was something of great value that the family of the groom would offer to the bride. The only concern that I have with Dr. Mkhize's definition is that once iLobola is primarily seen as a token of appreciation, there can be exploitation in that. When we look at the process of iLobola, which I will share more on in the next video, within the Nguni tribe, a certain portion of the lobola goes to the appreciation of the parents of the bride, but also another portion or a large portion goes into the wedding ceremony or goes into the lobola ceremony in and of itself. So I've seen that the potential confusion and the potential abuse is that sometimes it is seen as primarily as the appreciation just towards the family of the bride, and that can cause a lot of injustice in the relationship. So it's not primarily just an appreciation or token of appreciation, but actually it also goes towards the wedding ceremony as well. According to Nirongo, he says, Lobola serves as evidence to the immediate family and community at large that the family of the bride have accepted the marriage proposal and that a legitimate and legalized marriage has taken place between the couple. This ultimately leads to the families being unified and the establishment of friendship between the two families. One researcher who has a different perspective when it comes to this custom of iLobola is a gentleman by the name of Adam Cooper, who was an anthropologist. And Adam Cooper says that the iLobola can be seen as a payment of cattle for a wife and should be understood to relate to both a general set of exchange between the male domain of pastoral production and female domain of agricultural production, and that this series of exchange of goods and services between the potential husband and wife. So he sees it as the potential husband offering cattle to the family of the bride, and the family of the bride in exchange would offer their daughter, who would also work in the fields of this potential husband, and they would also offer porridge, and they'd also offer beer, and also potentially the daughter would bear children to this gentleman. So he saw it as an exchange. I give you cattle, you give me your daughter, you also give me beer and porridge. And so that has happened. Unfortunately, it still happens even today with families who might find themselves in desperate poverty, and they would sell off their daughters in exchange for cattle. And so there is real potential danger when it is seen as a transaction. All right, let's go into that. Let's go into what are the dangers, the potential dangers that can take place when this custom of iLobola is seen as a transaction. For females, potentially females can be seen as objects. They can be seen as objects of labor, and they can be seen as objects of bearing children. So once the family of the groom have paid this amount of cattle for the bride, if it's not understood well, the bride can be seen as an object. So now we own you, and that's not really the main purpose of iLobola. It becomes even exaggerated once the price of iLobola that was negotiated is even on a higher price. Then the family of the groom begin to have this form of entitlement that we paid this amount of iLobola for you. Therefore, there is these expectations that you need to meet in this house. And so there's certain labor expectations and also childbearing expectations. And even in that, there's a lot of potential abuse that can happen in that. One of the other abuses is sexual abuse that can happen because the potential groom sees that I've paid iLobola for you, therefore your sexual production is also mine. The potential danger as well is emotional abuse. Uguti, hey, I paid iLobola for you, therefore why aren't you doing 1, 2, 3? Why aren't you fulfilling your labor inside the house? And this can be some guilt tripping as well because of this misuse or misunderstanding or misinterpretation of iLobola. There can also be physical abuse because when a female or the potential bride is seen as an object, you don't see the human being side of them. You see them as an object, and there's so much danger in that regard. For males can be seen as objects of wealth. And so the family of the bride would see this man and maybe being in love with their daughter, and they might exaggerate the price of iLobola for their daughter because they see it as an opportunity to gain more wealth. And so men can be seen as an object of wealth. They can be exploited financially by the family of the bride. There's also a lot of shame in the inability to pay iLobola from men. There can be this really, really painful shame of the inability to pay, especially if the price has been exaggerated. Also, it can also lead to the postponement of the marriage. It is interesting that the price of iLobola in the past, according to Ansal, was actually 4 to 5 cows or cattle, and also something that is of great value from the family of the groom. So that can be grain, that can be a treasured tool that they use for gardening. But originally it was 4 to 5 cattle and something of great value from the family of the groom that was offered to the family of the bride. And as I said, when Theophilus Shepherdston came into South Africa, he changed the system and he changed the way that this custom of iLobola was done. Of course, he also partnered with some of the chiefs he was mostly based in KwaZulu-Natal, and so him and some of the Zulu chiefs had then said this is the amount of lobola that was paid. A normal person is supposed to pay this amount. Someone who is within a hierarchy was supposed to pay a certain amount, and if you're a chief, there is even a higher payment that you have to pay when it comes to cattle. I will break all of that down in the next video. I will share more on Theophilus Shepherdston. I will share more on the process of iLobola and what each cow actually symbolizes, why it is 11 cows for a normal person, and what each cow symbolizes. In fact, it would be interesting for you to know that Imvula Mlomo is actually one of the cows as well. And so it's quite interesting as you break down and see what actually are these cows for and where do they go to. So I'll be sharing more on that in the next video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like and subscribe, and hope to see you in the next video. Hold on, before you go, I forgot to share this with you. The last part that I wanted to share is the biblical Jewish practice that is similar to the custom of iLobola. So when you look at Revelations 3 verse 20, it says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and I will sup with him and he with me. In the Jewish biblical culture, what would happen is that when a groom wanted to marry the bride, he would go there with his father, and they would go and they would carry wine, and they'd also carry some food with them as well. They'd carry bread or whatever food that they used to eat in those days. They'd carry wine, and they'd also carry the food as well. And they would go to the family of the bride, and they would stand at the door and they would knock. And if the bride would open the door, it was symbolic to her saying yes to the marriage, yes to the union of both families coming together and becoming one, and they would enjoy supper together or dinner together or food together. But if she kept the door closed, she was saying that she wants nothing to do with the groom. And so when we read this, it is so interesting for me in Revelations 3 verse 20, when Jesus mentions this, he's actually saying that him, Jesus Christ, and the Father come and they stand at the door and they're knocking. They have bread to offer, they have wine to offer, and they stand at the door and they knock. Of course, wine is also symbolic to his blood that has cleansed us from our sin. And when we open the doors of our hearts and we allow him to come in, it becomes like even a marriage union where we actually have this genuine relationship that is fostered, that is built, and we can actually enjoy community and fellowship with one another. So I hope that has been informative, and I hope that has been something that will just maybe give you some more perspective on Revelations 3:20. Thank you once again, and I hope you have an amazing day.